but it's dedicated to some other people. And but also, I don't know why, but those lyrics just seem to come out. Now it's gone somewhere else. But at that period, that's what I was singing about. Maybe because I was confused about all the changes going on in my life.
And the changes going on in your life were moving towards marriage and fatherhood?
Everything, and becoming famous, and having people not like you anymore, and having some people who like you too much, and all those things. And also realizing that the president isn't necessarily a mythical character who isn't as human as you are, you know. Because I didn't really, where I grew up in Devon, I never mixed with famous people or anything, so you kind of put them on this other planet. And then when you arrive on that planet and you realize, oh, it's still Earth, and everyone still, you know, has to shave, even some of the girls. You know, it's kind of a great realization, because you realize that you can, you know, do things yourself, but it's also a scary one, like, well, who's in charge then, you know?
I think there are things that people find it difficult to understand about fame, because it certainly looks like fun from the outside.
Oh, it's fantastic.
There are some free things. You get to meet Angelina Jolie.
Yep.
There's an upside.
That's too big. I mean, the upside is a million times greater.
There's also something else you mentioned when you were talking about that period making this record where you were coping with changes in your life. You also mentioned a new idea of people not liking you.
Yeah.
Which is something you really had to face on this record. You know, the New York Times stepped out to call you the, I don't want to quote it from memory, but it might have been the most insufferable band of the decade.
Yeah. Well, I think they're correct. We're doing what we can to change that. Wow. I actually love, at the time it happens, those sort of things, it's a downer for a while. And then I think, like I said, if you have a competitive streak, like, my only wish now is to talk to the people who have ideas about, I don't mind being told this is bad and this is bad, as long as someone's got a positive idea about how you could improve. We're obsessed with getting better and better. So criticism is essential, and although we kind of had some hardcore stuff, now, like 9 months later, I love the fact that we've got it, and we just want to try and, you know, make us a bit more sufferable.
So at this distance, it's a challenge. Yeah,
it's a challenge, and it's great, and you should have people slagging you off, because, you know, if you become the biggest or the second, whatever, if you become a big band, you know, you could just become detached and think that everything you do is great, and we're well aware that it isn't.
And this is also something that U2 in their heyday had to face as well in the 1980s.
They're still in the heyday. I think it's more of a hey week.
Well, let's say in their early heyday. Right. Say their heyday continues now. But in the 80s, this is something that U2 had to face as well. You know, there was that moment on Rattle and Hum, the live album, where Bono asks, "Are we bugging you?" And for many people, the answer then was yes.
But I don't mean to bug you. Well, I like it, that record. I love it. But everyone's been through it. And this is what I'm saying. One of the great, great, great privileges of what I do is that I get to meet people who have been through everything we've been through. And they, whether it's Bruce Springsteen or Stevie Wonder, or, you know, all these people that were just, like I'm saying, mythical people to me. It's, however we've managed to get here, we've managed to be able to sit in a room with some of these people and have them say, Chris, don't worry about this, you know, just make sure you try this, or make sure you don't, you know, become obsessed with that, you know?
Now, you have the habit of writing things on your hand. I know the last time I saw you, you had a few notes on your hand. Tell us about what's written on your hand right now.
Well, this is actually an equal sign, but no one, I decided before we released X and Y, because well, I'm sure we'll talk about it in a minute, but we decided to advertise, if you will, the idea of fair trade. And I thought, well, we're in a lot of photographs, and there's only so much interesting about a picture of four men, not particularly handsome men, except our bass player. So I thought, well, maybe I could use that space to advertise. And so on the last record, I would write "Make Trade Fair" on my hand. And then, in the spirit of changing things for every album, I thought, well, this time I'll write an equal sign on my hand. And
And this has become a symbol for Make Trade Fair.
They designed it.
Yeah.
I can't take credit for the equal sign. I can take credit for Soft Rock as it stands in 2006, but not the equal sign, Joe.
Well, tell us about Make Trade Fair.
Well, in 2001, I was in our then manager's office, who's now our sort of fifth member, guru, whatever you want to call it. And he said, "Oh, we just got a letter from Oxfam about fair trade." I was like, fair trade? Is that some sort of baking contest, you know? And he said, "No, they want to talk to you about maybe going on a trip to Haiti." And I said, "Okay, I'll talk to them about that." So, and at this time, especially in England, we'd just become kind of big. And we were starting to get offers for advertising contracts, you know, for Pantene, Pro V. Do you have that here?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Well, it's the best of shampoos. At that time, we were starting to get offers for things like that, and we didn't really want to do any of those. But we realized that we lived in an advertising-obsessed world, and we worked in an advertising-obsessed world. So we were looking for... So we'd had the idea amongst the four of us, well, maybe we could pick an idea to advertise and then put on our hand in every picture. And at the same time, this letter came. So I met with some people from Oxfam, and they said, well, fair trade is really the idea that everyone in the world... This is the ideal. Everyone in the world gets rewarded fairly for what they do. And, you know, according to what they produce, they, you know, like going back to the medieval system of bartering. If I've got 2 bananas, you give me an orange, or 3 plums, or whatever you want to give me.
And so part of the idea is to eliminate tariffs on plums, bananas, rice, coffee.
No, there's 3 main issues. And the principal one is the fact that in the Western world, particularly in Europe and America, we subsidize our farmers very heavily, which is great. You've got to look after your own farmers. Often then what happens is that there's a surplus of, let's say, rice for Haiti. There's a surplus of rice in America. So instead of just, I don't know what you do. Instead of just not producing so much and still giving the subsidies, the Haitian market, which has been forced to have open barriers because of their World Bank loan, has to accept this rice into its country, which on the surface level is good. It's like, oh, it's cheap rice. But actually what it does is destroys their own rice farming industry. I'm not very good at explaining it.
No. I mean, this is part of the issue.
So to me, the main issue of fair trade is the fact that you have to, if we're going to protect our own markets in Britain and in America, which we should also allow Mozambique to protect its cotton farmers, and Ghana to protect its coffee farmers, and Haiti to protect its rice farmers, by not flooding them with stuff that we paid for with our tax money, you know?
What are your plans for the next record?
Our plans are to try and make something that's overwhelmingly fantastic, and that at this point we feel like we've been given this incredible job. Like we feel like we're the busboy, but we've been given the manager's position. It's like, well, we've been given this job of being a huge band, so either we can sit around and buy chateaus, or at least get mortgages on chateaus, or we can try and make some great records. And as simple as it sounds, that's what we're going to try and do.
Any plans to reinvent what you do?
I never want to say that, because...
you have a master plan, but you won't give it away, don't you?
I have a master plan, but it's in my pocket. I can't give it away.
Well, Chris, I want to thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
It's a good place to leave it, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Thanks, Joe.